Hey folks, Pat here from DNS, and this Madison area fishing report is current as of Friday, May 9th. Well, happy Friday, everyone. We made it through another week. How was everybody's opener? I know the folks that were out at midnight on the opener got wet, and a lot of people I talked to struggled. Opening day was also kind of chilly. I think that kept a lot of people off the water. Don't get me wrong, though, there were a lot of people fishing Saturday, and some did well and others struggled, but I guess that's fishing. But yeah, I hope everybody had a good opener. Don't forget that we have Mother's Day coming up, so maybe mom wants to get out and do some fishing on Sunday. I know if I was a mom, that's what I'd want to do, so I guess just think about it. We've been super busy here at the shop this morning, so just a couple quick things to go over. Casting for kids. They're still looking for a few more guide boats if you're interested in doing that, or if you want to register for the event. It's a great event, benefits the Carbone Cancer Center, UW Children's Hospital, and we're happy to be a sponsor of that. You can go to casting4kids.org and sign up there or learn more about an awesome event. The Yahara Fishing Club, of course, great group. I always encourage folks to support them, is hosting their Kids Fishing Day. That'll be May 31st, right over here behind the shop at the Warner Park Lagoon. They're at the Rainbow Shelter down there. Great event. Any kid that shows up, first 300 kids receive a free fishing rod and bait, and then there's members there to help show you, what's up. Adults can fish without a license. They have free lunch, like hot dogs and soda, chips and stuff like that for the kids. Super great event. We're happy to provide bait for it, and it gets literally hundreds of kids into fishing every year. And I want to thank the Yahara Fishing Club for doing that. But do check it out. That's Saturday, May 31st this year. What else? A little bit of shop news. We have leeches. A lot of people asking about leeches. They're a better size now. This batch is a little bit better. Still some small ones floating around in there, but they're a good size. Also, the golden bucket has risen again. We keep this by the counter here with special deals. We got a 13 fishing Kalon fishing reel. We got it for $29.99. These regular retail on these $70. So I just happened to get a great deal through one of my distributors and stocked up on a bunch. So swing by and you can see it's it's a good looking reel. 13 makes good products there. So. I guess just a couple announcements from the door out here. There's a Distilling America event on the same day as the kids fishing event. So maybe you go take the kids to the kids fishing event and then go get your buzz on down at this Distill America event at Bree Stevens Field. Otherwise, yeah, I got a poster here for the kids fishing day. And then also this event that's happening June 6th. That'd be the weekend after the kids fishing day. Up in Viroqua, the Driftless Angler, awesome fly shop. Kalen Hoggard, who is a competitive caster, very talented casting instructor, really knows his stuff, is hosting a casting competition as part of this larger event, and we are happy to be a sponsor of that. So lots of stuff going on there. I think that pretty much does it for stuff going on around town. I guess as far as fishing goes, like I mentioned in the intro, opening day was kind of chilly, but Sunday was nice, and as was the rest of the week here. A little windy a couple days, but that's spring for you. Otherwise, the forecast for the weekend going on into next week looks gorgeous with temps in the 70s and 80s. I don't see much chance for rain, so make sure you make some plans to get out and do some fishing. The Mendota buoy, let's see here, it is reading 54 degrees right now, and a little cooler as you go down. It had actually dropped over the week. We had some cooler nights, but with this warm up coming, this over the next week, those temps, you should see those starting to bump up pretty good here. Generally around the chain, with all the water still being kind of chilly, shallow is the name of the game, no matter where you fish or what you're fishing for. And when I say shallow, I guess I'm talking about 10 feet or less generally. Pan fishing around town's been good in most shallow areas, especially bays and inlets, with spikes, waxworms, working good on like an ice jig. Redworms on a little bit bigger jig work well for those fish. You can find crappies in many of those same areas, and they're getting ready to spawn here in a week or two, so they're probably pretty hungry. Crappie minnows or a small minnow-shaped plastic on a jig under a bobber is a pretty safe bet for those fish. Bass anglers have been having a great time out there with any number of presentations. Ned rigs, chatterbaits, swim baits, lipless crankbaits have been good. I haven't heard about any smallmouth on beds yet, but that should be just around the corner here as the water warms up here next week. Walleye anglers have also been pretty happy. Folks fishing from shore have been having success mostly during low light hours, casting paddle tail swim baits, jerk baits like husky jerks. And if you're in a boat, trolling is a great way to cover water to find fish up shallow while the weeds are still short. They are coming up, but they're short still. Otherwise, on the live bait side of things for walleye, our extra large walleye minnows, blacktail chubs, small suckers all work well. And of course, like I mentioned, we have leeches, and everything that swims loves a leech. So any one of those live bait options on a jig, drop shot, slip bobber can be super effective. Um, if it's pike you're after, they'll grab just about anything. You could probably throw your keys in the water with a hook on it, and they'd grab that. But if you want to use live bait, large shiners are a pretty safe bet. Haven't heard much about muskies. It's generally a slow time for them this time of year. And don't forget about trout. I'll get into more details during my trout report at the end of this report. But this time of year is probably your best time to get out and explore some of the great trout streams we have in our area before the weed, bugs, and heat show up. A little bit of detail here around town. Up here to Cherokee, they've been getting still some panfish up there. I've been hearing about some crappies and some bluegills. It doesn't sound like it's really a numbers game, but the size has been good. So folks from shore fishing here at Cherokee Park have been doing well. Also people floating out here, uh, you know, paddling through here. You got a canoe, it's great water for that. Folks also are fishing catfish up there, and also catfish at the 113 bridge, and any number of species you can catch there. It's always kind of a mixed bag, but a lot of catfish down there. A lot of white bass have been coming through. The crappie and bluegill have kind of died off, but they're of course swimming in and out of there too. Catfish as well in North Bay, which is of course where they hang out this time of year before they spawn about mid-June or so. But if you got a boat and you can anchor up out here, you're definitely going to catch catfish, and they're all huge. Otherwise, panfish closer to shore, and the night folks have been doing well trolling up here for walleyes, so that's a good option. Otherwise, on Lake Mendota itself, like I said in the intro, shallow is going to be the name of the game. So look to areas like University Bay. Of course, I mentioned North Bay. Your shallow inlets like Marshall Park, Spring Harbor, Dangle Bay over here. Those are all going to be the spots that are going to be holding fish. But I am hearing about fish in shallow water spots like Maple Bluff Rocks. You can find walleyes up there, smallies. Governor's Island's a great area. Picnic Point, Second Point. Anywhere you can find shallow rocks, especially with some weeds mixed in, you're likely going to find fish. And like I said, the weeds are, I don't know, from what I hear, about a foot tall right now. So not tall enough to cause a problem, but tall enough that they are starting to hold fish. Tenney Park has been hot down there. Folks have been doing well off the breakwall, mostly at night for walleyes, bass, and pike and stuff, panfish during the day. The area below the Tenney Park Lock and Dam is open now for fishing, so folks have been doing well in there with a lot of mostly walleyes, and I hear about some nice bluegills in there. A couple of muskies swimming around too, but they don't seem to be in the mood to bite. A lot of small bluegills in the Tenney Lagoon. As the river empties into Lake Monona, that's always a pretty good spot where fish tend to stack up. Good walleye spot in the evening. And as far as Lake Monona goes itself, I haven't heard a lot off the main lake, but folks fishing close to shore have been doing well for walleyes, mostly in the evening. So places like Old Brick, down along John Nolan Drive, um, over here off Wildhaven, the rock pile out there has been good. Otherwise, panfish are everywhere in Lake Monona. It's just a panfish factory. So spots you can look at to find fish. It was really anywhere shallow. So, I mean, just look at a map. The top spots are always going to be Monona Bay down here in the triangles. They are getting fish. Bluegills are starting to show up in front of the wall at the Monona Terrace. And they are still getting some crappies in Monona Bay and some bluegills in there as well. I have heard about some good panfish action in Turbo Bay and over here to Weechawuk Bay, formerly known as Squaw Bay, and Winnequa Park. I've heard about some crappies up there this week, so they're starting to move in. But they're usually just up there a couple days, so you can give it a shot though. There's some nice gills in there too. Lake Winger, tons of tiny gills if you got a young person you want to keep busy. Good bass population in there, some real giants if you want to give the bass angling a try. And I have heard about a couple muskies coming out of there. I do want to remind folks that the area below the Winger Dam here is not like the other fish refuges. This one is closed until May 15th to protect the muskies in there, which are still hanging out. I haven't heard about many jumping, but I think there's still some hanging around in there. Muskies on Lake Monona, I haven't heard. I think I maybe heard of like one or two, and one or two over in Winger here. But the muskies, like I said in the intro, typically don't really get going until like June-ish. Lattice Park launch is open and the water is coming up, so that's a little easier place to launch now if you're heading into Upper Mud. The panfish action over here in the dredge hole has been good and continues to be good. The shallow areas around it for largemouth bass has also been very productive. Otherwise, down on Lake Wabisa, Lake Farm area has been producing some good bluegills and some crappies moving in there. Same thing down on the shallow South Bay. And if it's crappies you're looking for, I've heard about some starting to show up down here along Bible Camp and what do you call it? Rockford Heights. And then if you're looking for walleyes, some of the rocky areas out here close to Babcock are good. Rock Pile over here, maybe up to Hog Island too would be worth a cast or two. Babcock is open below there. I've heard about some fish stacked up in there, a few walleyes. Otherwise, down on Lake Kegonsa, I again don't hear about a ton of reports out of there because it's so far from the shop. But the fish camp area I hear is producing some nice bluegills. Kegonsa is known for its nice bluegills. Otherwise, any shallow areas, there are probably some weeds coming up, and also along, if you're looking for walleyes, along the state park over here, good rocky areas over there are a pretty safe bet for those fish. The white bass are still hanging out at the dams on the Rock River, like at Indian Ford and up to Jefferson, although does sound like it's starting to taper off. Walleyes that were up at the dams have started to move back downriver, and I hear they are starting to show up in Lake Koshkonong. So that's definitely happening. Bait Box on the Rock holds like a weekly tournament down there. It looks like they're starting to get some fish. Sounds like it's mostly a trolling game down there though. And otherwise up, I guess I haven't heard much off Beaver Dam Lake. Some crappies, maybe some catfish swimming around up there. And there are, not otherwise. I haven't heard much off Devil's Lake. I guess a few people fishing for trout up there have been finding some fish. And I'm going to pause it here and we will talk about the Wisconsin River in just a sec. All right, and we're back. So the Wisconsin River flows at the dells are back down to seasonal levels. So that's good after all that rain we had last week. Flows down to Muscadet and downriver are still a little bit high as that water kind of flushes its way out of the system here. So anyway, the river's very fishable and pretty much the same deal on the river as on the Rock River. Fish are stacked up at dams, white bass up there. Walleye are starting to move back downstream into deeper holes, so look to corners. If you're looking for smallmouth, you can look to shallow structure. Wood is always great. Little drop-offs near sandbars are pretty productive. Up on Lake Wisconsin, sounds like the walleyes are starting to move back into the lake, but I haven't heard of any great reports, and the saugers too. I haven't heard great reports. Few fish being picked up here and there. Otherwise, on Lake Wisconsin, all your shallow bays, Moon Valley, Okie, the Fingers, and the Grade are all holding panfish right now, and I hear the action's been pretty good up there. Otherwise, moving up the river, like I said, Wisconsin Dells Dam is back down to very fishable levels, and they are getting some white bass up there. And I'm sure it's the same thing at the Castle Rock Dam, Petenwell Dam. Haven't heard much off Petenwell and Castle Rock lakes themselves, but I'm sure the walleye bite up there is good, as those fish are also probably filtered back down into the lakes themselves. Mississippi River action, I honestly haven't heard much reports. The only folks I really talk to these days, now that the perch are done and the walleye are done, are the folks that hit the barges, like at Genoa. And sounds like the action's been kind of slow. A few fish picked up here and there, a lot of pike swimming around, maybe some smallies here and there. But otherwise, I haven't heard much off that. I would fish wing dams for walleyes and smallmouth if I was headed over that way. Otherwise, over to Milwaukee, the steelhead in the Milwaukee River and all the other tributaries are pretty much out of there. You may find a steelhead or two that's still kind of lost and hanging out in there. But for the rest of the summer, we'll be experiencing some good smallmouth and pike action, especially in the Milwaukee River. That fishery has really turned around in like the last 10, 15 years. So, and I'll be reporting on that. Otherwise, folks fishing out in the Big Lake are catching cohos. They're starting to move up the East Coast. I think they're still getting them out from Milwaukee, but I know Port Washington's been producing some good cohos, and I'm sure they're up at Sheboygan, and they'll just work their way up the East Coast here as that water continues to warm. Otherwise, like I said in the intro, don't forget about trout fishing. This is a great time of year to be out exploring trout streams. The creeks are in good shape after being a little dirty last weekend. And like I mentioned in the intro, with the weeds and heat and bugs still down, get out there and explore some of the great water we have right in our area, right in our backyard here. So on the spinning gear side of things, suspending or sinking jerk baits like Rapala Husky jerks and countdowns always work, as do crappie-sized tube jigs, work slowly through deeper runs and pools. And of course, Panther Martin spinners are pretty hard to beat. But if you want to fish live bait, you can use chub tails, you can use minnows and stuff like that. But honestly, it's hard to beat a redworm drifted through runs and tail outs. On the fly side of things, we'll just go right into our happy fly day feature here. And this time of year, we got caddis popping off. We got blue-winged olives popping off. So, make sure you got a couple caddis imitations or, uh, beadhead pheasant tails. Hare's ear nymphs are great, kind of catch all nymph patterns. Don't forget to have woolly buggers in case you run into some dirty water. I mean, they work all year round, so woolly bugger is always going to catch fish. Might be a little late for pink squirrels, but if it's chilly in the morning like it was today, pink squirrel's a good idea. And then scuds too. I mean, scuds. I read somewhere, I heard somewhere that scuds make up 80% of a trout's diet, so you can pretty much always count on scuds to catch fish. Otherwise, like I said, fish or bugs are hatching right now. It's a great time of year to be dry fly fishing. Probably the peak, I would say, is in May here. And, blue-winged olives, so flies like these, a parachute's a great option. Also flimps, if you see fish that are coming close to the surface but not quite there, throw a flimp at them. They ride just under the surface. Those are great. Otherwise, anything with some deer hair on is good. These kind of mimic a mayfly or a caddis, and then caddis are coming off great. You get a sunny day, you're likely going to run into a caddis hatch, and you definitely want to be prepared for that because the fish will ignore everything else but caddis or even olives if they're coming off. But yeah, I guess that pretty much does it for the report. I do want to thank you for tuning in. As always, feel free to post your comments and catches below. Do feel free to call the shop at 241-4225 if you want us to expand on anything. Otherwise, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Good luck out there, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks so much.